decision making does not have you in mind.
Well, I know, I think
The
parents
child may
really need
take
to
on
realize that.
the child may take on a job
Yes.
that puts them in a country completely away from where you are, which means that they will have to pay for housing there,
Yes.
which means that you will be stuck on that second mortgage you put on your home in your retirement. So we have to really be practical and careful about all these things. So this whole process of life has become a little bit more complicated because of the cost of living and everything else.
Of course, and economic crisis.
Yeah.
Something you said about teenagers being in depressive state. Is there a description that you can give us? For example, persons who are functioning, they're going to school or going to work, they're with their families, but they're in a state of depression.
Oh yeah. Well,
Can you
there are some small things that you may recognize. One of the things that you tend to start to find out, what tends to be universal, is that these persons soon begin to lose interest in things that they once loved. That is a clear-cut sign that you need to pay attention to. So if you knew that this person loved curry chicken, all of a sudden, when it's being fixed, they're not particular about it, they don't care, they don't wish to eat it. That is a clear warning sign.
Okay.
What you'll find with children are their favorite toys and their favorite shows and games. All of a sudden, they begin to lose interest in it. It is a clear indication that something is beginning to affect the person.
Of course.
Some persons have what we call chronic patterns of depression, and those are the ones that we're deeply concerned about, because those persons, they have the capacity to
Okay, can you elaborate a little
kill
more
themselves.
on chronic?
Well, see, chronic means that it's an ongoing thing. All of a sudden, they go through this phase of 3 months. Nobody's understanding what they're so angry and fed up about.
Okay.
Then when the 3 months is over, they say, oh, well, thank God that's over. But then next year, around the same time, the same pattern
thing
comes
happens.
on
Okay.
again. Depression is not something that can be dealt with at a lay level. It has to require professional intervention.
Okay.
We look at the great Robin Williams.
He just
Well,
actually,
he has been
this is
depressed.
something that's really
He has been depressed for decades. You see? Depression is a mental disease.
Okay,
I want
it's a
people to
mental
understand
disease. Please explain that.
it is
It's
a mental disease.
Okay.
It is not just a circumstance.
Okay.
It is a mental disease. Okay?
That takes place in your
In
mind.
your mind.
Okay.
Okay? And it requires intervention from specialists.
Okay.
It's not something that you're going to pray out. It is something that you actually have to work out.
Oh wow, that is really interesting. But I really wanted you to go into that because just to make parents aware that it's not just adults that suffer from depression.
No, children as
and
well.
please keep an eye on your teenager, on your child. Please keep a close eye on them. If you notice changes that happen,
You have to
don't
pay
just take it for
attention to it.
granted.
No.
That he's just going through this or she's just going through that.
No.
Understand that this could be something
could be something that could be developing. Children nowadays go through a tremendous amount of cyberbullying, bullying in school. All of those things are what we call the components that can build the perfect storm of depression.
Okay.
all of
That's
that.
very real in our society.
It's extremely
Even
real
here
in our
the Bahamas,
society.
It's
very real.
Very real.
And you see, because our children are not being socialized appropriately, the incidence of bullying will increase. And that's what we're actually seeing.
Oh, so there's an increase even in the Bahamas.
There's worldwide.
Well, but I've heard about it
because the vast
worldwide.
majority
I've
of
heard
children
about it.
being born are born out of wedlock, which means that the kind of nurturing and emotional development and attention that the child needs, they will not get it.
Okay.
That's just the stark reality. In the Bahamas, from the new millennium came in,
Yes.
82% of the children born are born to a single mom.
Wow.
Only
But I know in our
18%,
society it's
only
very high.
18% are from marriage.
Mhm.
So that's not just an issue here. That's an issue throughout the region. that is an issue throughout the Western world in particular.
Okay, there's another thing I would like to touch on, especially where you're mentioning about single homes, and then of course we have marriage couples, which is at a low percentage.
Yeah.
But did you find in your times of counseling in the Bahamas, and this may not just be prevalent in the Bahamas, is domestic violence prevalent in the Bahamas?
Domestic
is it
violence,
in the region?
domestic
and the world?
violence is very high in this region.
In this region.
Oh yeah, in this region, domestic violence is very, very high. And there are several factors that lend into that. One of the factors has to do with the fact that the world is changing and this region is taking very long to adapt to the changes. And so the kinds of opportunities for jobs are completely different from the environment 30, 40 years ago.
Of course.
So financial stress will lead to a tremendous amount of interpersonal violence. The lack of it.
Financial stress.
No question about it.
Right now, I mean, the world is in economic crisis.
And so you
persons are losing their jobs.
Yes, all of that.
Can't take care of their families. There's one thing I would like, are there certain steps, because since there's so much pressure, are there certain steps that anybody can take that can help them cope with the pressures of life? That you can perhaps tell us.
People need to have a plan for their lives, no question about it. The truth of the matter is, the first thing is you must come out of denial. Okay, if you live in denial because you want to avoid the reality of a situation, actually it's going to get worse. So most people go into denial. They practice the ostrich syndrome. They bury their heads in the sand and pretend as if it's not there. So what they'll do is they'll go to happy hour, go clubbing, they'll do all these things hoping to shake off the weight and the pain of what's on them. And in actuality, those things actually would make it worse. So the first thing a sensible person needs to do is do not live in denial of the circumstances that they are under. That is the first step to coming out of problems. Do not live in denial of the issues that are in front of you. Then once you accept and you recognize it, then now go look for persons that have the expertise to help you with that. The worst thing you can do is go to someone who doesn't have the capacity to help you, but they think that they do.
Oh, they think they do.
Because their advice could be destructive.
Okay, they think they do.
They think that they do. And so we must learn how to reach out for help. You have a computer, you have internet, you can go online and you can begin the process of seeing what kinds of backgrounds of individuals can offer help for these things.
Yes,
why?
of course.
Because if you click in hopelessness, financial pressure, domestic violence, you'll start to see blogs by marriage and family therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists. So what this says to a person, oh, I need to look for someone with this background. That is correct.
Of course. I mean, if you have a toothache, you know that you need to go to a doctor, but you need a doctor that deals with the teeth.
Thank you. And so all of that is important. The third thing that's critically important is you need a social support network. When people are going through those types of difficulties, human beings need support.
Of course.
Now, when I say support, not because the person knows you, mean that they would be good to be in your social network.
Okay. Tell us about that.
Support has to come from someone that is positive-minded, that is encouraging, that is not negative.
I'm happy you touch on that.
That's amazing, eh?
That's very amazing, you know, because sometimes the persons we have around us, they're not the ones who always encourage us.
They create more problems for us because they're so negative. They speak doom and gloom. You know, they increase our level of anxiety and frustration. That's not a support person.
So you need to be around the right people who are giving you positive, telling you positive, saying, you know, encouraging you.
Yes.
You really don't need to hear, you know, negative
Say, you're so stupid, I tell you this is going to happen to you. No, you don't need
to
that
hear
at all.
at all.
The good thing about this is you can choose who your support work will be.
Okay.
Look for the positive-minded, encouraging persons.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure these are not persons who talk too much.
Oh, that's another thing. Okay, that's important.
It's very
This is-
important
yes,
because when a person is
confidentiality.
going through difficulties,
Mm-hmm.
exposing them could actually tip their scale
Oh, yes, I can imagine.
and cause them to throw in the towel on life.
Okay, so are there any
Yes.
other steps that they should take before?
Well, that's the third step.
That's the third step.
Yes, and after the third step, you have your social support network. Now there must be a commitment to implementing what you've learned.
Of course, I mean, you can learn something, if you never implement it, it can't help you.
That
So
is
you have to
correct.
go through all the stages
Yes.
before you can really get somewhere in dealing with challenges. Because you find a lot of people when they're faced with challenges. Okay, well, you know, Dr. Thompson, our time just went so quickly. There's so much more questions, but it just
Yeah.
means that we may have to have you on another time,
Sure.
on another show. I
Yes.
would like to say thank you,
Thank you for
joining
having me.
us today.
Yes.
I hope our audience received a lot. I'm sure they did. I would
Yes.
like to also say thank you to our viewers for joining us today and for watching our show, for opening your mind to new concepts and ideas. We know that you're facing challenges in life, and may you
Yes.
quickly conquer them with God's help.
Yes.
May you positively feed your mind and your soul only with the positive. I'm Adrana Lockhart. I must say goodbye. I love you all. Until next time.